Thank you for your participation from overseas. My name is Reiko Yoshi. Before we get started, I would like to explain the flow of the webinar. First, on behalf of Japan Water Forum, Mr. Shigenori Asai will present our organization and a background of the webinar. After that, today's speaker, Dr. Kotaro Takemura, will present today's topic. Water in Japan, the lessons learned from failure in the history. Then we will move on to the Q&A session. During Q&A session, we will answer the questions that participants posted in advance. Due to the time restriction, we might not be able to all of your questions. In that case, we will answer for the rest of the question by email after the webinar. So, if you have any question, please post it in the Q&A box. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Asai, Director at Japan Water Forum. Asai-san, thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you, Reiko-san. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Welcome. First of all, I thank everyone for attending today's first JWF webinar. All of us are still in a very difficult time due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you are doing well and staying healthy. I am Shigenori Asai, Director at the Japan Water Forum. Let me brief the background of the webinar. The Japan Water Forum was established in 2004 as a successor to the organizer of the Third World Water Forum held in Japan. Since then, the Japan Water Forum, that is called JWF, has contributed to and advanced the implementation of solutions to global water challenges. The JWF is a place for every water stakeholder to share knowledge and experiences and discuss solutions. It is also a community collaboratively facilitating concrete actions to address a broad range of water-related problems, including water-related disasters, which Japan has suffered from too many times in the long history. As you may know very well, water is a fundamental for our lives and livelihoods, as well as improved hygiene and the ecosystems that are the basis of our economy and the society. We face many water challenges in every corner of the world and need to address increasing water-related risks due to climate change. This is a series of JWF webinars that aims to share our practical know-how and experiences on how to address the issues with stakeholders in a step-by-step and tailor-made manner. By taking you on a deep dive into relevant history, culture, and behind-the-scenes details. Today's webinar is the entry point of our series. Dr. Takemura will provide an overview of Japan's long history of failures and overcoming them. Last but not least, we hope that this series will be a great opportunity to make a relationship with you and motivate new collaborations. I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful remarks. Now, let's move on to the introduction of today's speaker. Dr. Takemura, after he retired 2002 as Director General for River Bureau, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism, From 2006 on, he has been serving as chair and secretary general of Japan Water Forum. He published several books, including, among others, Clarifying the Mystery of Japanese Civilization and Hydroenergy Saves Japan. Okay, let's welcome today's guest speaker, Dr. Takemura. Dr. Takemura, the floor is yours.
Reiko-san, Asai-san, thank you very much. Good day, everyone. I am Secretary General of Japan Water Forum, Dr. Kotaro Takemura. This is the first webinar of the Japan Water Forum. In the seminar, we will introduce various information about water in Japan to the world. I'm a civil engineer, have been in charge of water resource, flood control, environment conservation, and groundwater management in Japan. Today, I'd like to introduce Japan's history of water-related failure and how we overcome them. It is said Japanese cities are beautiful. However, this is not something that came naturally. It is a result of people's effort and infrastructure's development. Before the modern times, samurai's road governed Japan from 15th century to 19th century. Many roads had been fighting against each other for a long period from 16th century to 17th centuries. Before modern times, the samurai road governed the water system in each river basin. Takeda Shingen is one of the strongest samurai road. He governed the Kofu Basin near the Mount Fuji. At that time, paddy field was suffered by drought many times. The drought caused severe conflict between neighbor villages. There are many bills of complaint about conflict between villages. Takeda Shingen ordered the people to stop fighting and share the water. Takeda Shingen offered special water intaking facility. This is a unique facility for equal sharing with a key small stone. Can you see the keystone, the center of the pool? The water flow has been divided equally to 3 villages, A, B, and C. They enjoy water when it's rich and abundant, but they endured the drought each other when the water shortage. This technology of the water sharing facility has been improved year by year, and the technology was spread to the whole Japan. There are many heritage about the water heritage related infrastructure in the world. All they belong to king and big power. I have never heard the sharing water facility. I think this facility has a worth as a World Heritage. 1600 Warring Road battle to the finish at the Sekigahara. The winner was Tokugawa Ieyasu, and he unified the whole Japan. He set the capital in Tokyo, far from Kyoto. Tokyo was called Edo at that time. Edo is located near east from Mount Fuji and far from Kyoto. Kyoto is a central city at that time. Edo is not so good place around water. This topography map of Tokyo at present 21st century. At that Tokugawa period, the west side of Edo was hills, and there are no large river on that hills. Then the paddy field had never done on that hill. The east side of Edo is tidal wetland. Then paddy field had never been done too. Around Edo is severe about water. Why did Tokugawa Ieyasu decide Edo as a new capital? Tokugawa Ieyasu left West Japan, central city Kyoto. The reason was devastation of West Japan. Trees on the mountain of West Japan disappeared for long warning period. Ieyasu demand the new government. Ieyasu demand energy for new government. He found out large forests on the hills of west side of Edo. Tokyo is a huge urban city now. Then we cannot imagine, and of course you cannot imagine, the landscape of Edo 400 years ago. From now, I will take you to the Edo period 400 years ago. Very interesting. This is not Edo Castle, Mont Saint-Michel in France. It is UNESCO World Heritage. The Mont Saint-Michel stands on the river mouth of Lance River. It stands between hills and tidal wetland, looks like to Edo Castle 400 years ago. Then the please image Edo 400 years ago. I'm sure you understand that Edo was no drinking water and faced to severe water problem. The first infrastructure by Ieyasu was a dam for drinking water. Can you see the dam center of the picture? This site is known as Toranomon. It means Tiger Gate in Japanese, Tiger Gate, Toranomon. You know, Toranomon is a very famous place in Tokyo. This wood block print by the famous ukiyo-e artist Hiroshige. Can you see the lighting house of the right? This house is Prime Minister's office just now. This dam was filled 100 years ago according to the urbanization of Tokyo, but its dams remain the name Tameike. Tameike means reservoir. As Edo population increasing, they have been suffered by water shortage. The new water canal was constructed from Tama River to Edo. The length was 40 kilometers, 40 kilometers. Edo became larger and larger. Edo became the largest city in the world at that time, 19th century. Tokugawa Ieyasu planned the control of many roads. Many roads are this we call daimyo at that time. Ieyasu controlled many daimyos using the topography of Japanese archipelago. The long chain mountains run from north to south in center of Japan archipelago. Many rivers run flow to the Japan Sea and Pacific Ocean from edge line of chain mountains. Japanese archipelago has been divided many rivers basin. Tokugawa Ieyasu kept many daimyos to set in each river basin, and Ieyasu prohibited daimyo to be expanding out of river basin. All daimyo have been going to develop each river basin without expanding to out of rivers basin. This picture is the original future of rivers in the world. Original future. We cannot see this original future in Japan. This is not Japanese river. Rivers in USA National Park river. Original landscape of every river on the earth looks like this river. We call Yawata no Orochi, so many branch river flow down to river. This feature of river is a present Japanese river. The levee, you can see the levee, have been constructed and river flow is under control by central and local government now. This is a present future, 21st century. Back to the past. This future is original river flow before developing for Edo period. The river there is no river at that time. Only many branch rivers. Daimyo and people constructed levee in Edo period at every river in Japan. 90% of river levee in Japan has been constructed in Edo era, not modern times. Japanese people were working on the reclamation area for paddy. But this reclamation area was still wetland and danger against flood. The fighting against flood became the Japanese destiny still now. This is same picture. Starting of Japan modern in mid 19th century. In 1853, United States Commander Perry came to Japan. Japan opened the country to foreign countries. Japan changed federal system to nation states. The modernization started in Japan. 1868, Tokugawa samurai government returned the power back to emperor. 1890, emperor set up the parliament. And central government carried out the railroad project in whole Japan. The terminal station of railroad is Tokyo. The population and the economy had been growing up rapidly. Young people gathered to Tokyo. Urban concentration occurred. This graph shows the trend of Japanese population for 2,000 years. You can believe we Japanese can make the trend of Japanese population for 2,000 years. Our Japanese like document and memorize. We can assume this graph. Of course, this graph make the famous Dr. Kito professor. Population increasing after the modernization was remarkably. You know, modern starting and the population is very, very rapidly increasing. Just now, the population is going slow down. At start of modernization time, water supply infrastructure was not enough in whole Japan. Women and children took water from Japan. Women were always working on the river shore. Women were working, but men didn't work. Women were washing on the shore, not so ancient time, only 70 years ago in Japan. Tap water came to houses area. Women gathered to the tap and washing. The domestic water system spread in urban area, but water resources was not enough. People has been suffered by water shortage. Japanese were going to pump up groundwater from the Orvia plain. Japanese urban cities are located on the Obia Plain. I explain the Obia Plain. The Obia Plain problem is the same situation. Bangkok, Jakarta, and Manila, and Tokyo. 10,000 years ago, during the glacial period, the sea level was lower 100 meters compared with present sea level. The river flowed into the deep sea. The rivers took sand and mud to the deep sea. 6,000 years ago, warm temperature period. The sea level was higher 5 meters compared with present sea level. Many rivers rose with sand and mud to river mouth. The speed of river flow was going slow down at river mouth because there are water. From 6,000 years ago, Little Ice Age stage started and Little Ice Age started and sea level went down to the present level. Obia Plain appeared at every river mouth in the world. Riverbed made of sand and mud is soft. Obia Plain is not rigid and cause subsidence easily. Excessive pumping the groundwater on the Obia Plain cause severe subsidence at urban area. Land of Nagoya was sinking below the sea level by excessive pumping up groundwater. 2000, heavy rain attacked Nagoya. Town went underwater according subsidence. Japanese government had constructed dam for flood control and water resources development at every large river. Just now, the land subsidence was stopped perfectly with water resources development and regulation on Obia Plain. We Japanese took mistake about water pollution. Early stage of modern times, for about 10,000 years, 100 years, domestic wastewater and factory disposal was thrown to river directly. The Sumida River in Tokyo 50 years ago, only 50 years ago. The Tama River in Tokyo 50 years ago too. These rivers were so polluted. People were suffered bad smelling. Children play in these dirty rivers. School teachers put up signboard warning children not to go into the river. children went away from rivers and began to play only in artificial pool. Over there, the natural river is flow, but children play in the artificial pool. Government regulated water quality criteria, and private company carry out the wastewater treatment. Central and local government has been constructing sewage system. Recently, children return to the river and play in rivers. This is Tama River in metropolitan Tokyo. 50 years ago, the Tama River is dirty river. At present, children learn about Japan's past mistake by visiting museum. Japan is known as a clean, beautiful country, but please understand, the clean of Japan depends on the effort and investment in the infrastructure related with water. I try to analyze the relation between Japanese life and domestic water supply with data for 130 years. 130 years ago, the domestic water started. Red line shows the average Japanese life expectancy. At present, Japanese female life expectancy is 87 years old. Male life expectancy is 81 years old. One of the longest in the world. However, 90 years ago, it was 43. Terrible. Please look the bar graph shows the water supply population in Japan. The two shows very strong correlation. We can clearly see that infrastructure of water supply prolong the Japanese people's life. Of course, women were free from harsh and hard water works now. I introduced a short history about water in Japan. For now, I was short introduce the issue in the future of Japan. There are so many laws and acts concerning water in Japan. I guess this situation is saying all nations. Left side is domestic water law, right side sewage law, central is river law, water resource development law, water pollution prevention act, and land improvement law, industry water law, and control of groundwater law, so on. These many laws make people confusing. People are dropping into the gap of the vertical divided administration. Vertical divided administration. The vertical divided administration are formed according to these many laws. This is destiny for administration to keep on territory. How we can resolve this situation? In Japan, all parties of national diet gathered and established new law, Water Cycle Basic Law, in 2014. This basic law will wrap up all laws and acts. But the wrapping does not mean whole Japan. The wrapping does not mean the central administration organization. The wrapping means many stakeholders at each river basin. Here, Japan has so many river basins. The solution is filling in this gap of vertical divided administration in each rivers. The solution exists in each river basin. Who can bridge these gaps? The answer is all stakeholders of each river basin: farmers, private company, NGO, fishers, and researchers. All stakeholders can bridge this gap. Of course, we need the local government and central government. We need the bottle means administration, and costa mean law and acts. On this stand, on this administration organization stand on this costa. The point of water cycle basic law, the sound water cycle is important for the sustainable society. Of course, the central and the local government have responsibility of the water management, but also farmers, fishers, the business sector, and people have responsibility for the sound water cycle. I think governance of water management with all stakeholders in river basin, stakeholder will estimate the river basin council. The water cycle basic law estimate the river basin council. The River Basin Council by all stakeholders. Basic mission is conservation and widely use of the water of the river basin. Main player, all stakeholders in the river basin. Administration, farmers, private company, etc. Goals: safety against flood, conservation and widely use of surface and groundwater, knowledge of water cycle from mountain to sea, maintenance the traditional culture of the river basin. Japan started the challenge for the sustainable society in future. The River Basin Council just was born. That council is still baby. They can not walk well by themselves. They depend on government still now, but it will be marching giant in future. What is the source of life? There is no substitute for water. Water is water. Water will be the key word for the realization of the sustainable society in the future. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Arigatou.
Thank you very much for your great presentation. It was so impressive and very informative. Now, let's move on to the Q&A session. We received a few questions. So let me introduce first, okay? Dr. Takemura,
Yes.
you have been engaged in water resource development for a long time, but is there anything you want to share to those who will be working on it, such as your own hardships or what you should have done at that time?
Thank you, Reiko-san. I have been working in Ministry of Land and Infrastructure and Transport, and I'm charged in the dam construction, 3 dam construction. It's a very strange person. And dam is mainly infrastructure for water. Japan has rich and heavy rain, but the topography is steep. Then the river runs away to the sea for 2 or 3 days, or 2 or 3 days remain only. Japanese civilization has to construct dam and catch the water at reservoir by dam. Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, MLIT, has responsibility to construct dams for flood control and water resource development. 60 years ago, MLIT took severe mistake about dam construction. They did the Matsubara Dam, Shimoke Dam project in power. Strong and hard opposition movement occurred by submerged people. Generally speaking, the public work force sacrifice the community. Almost public work force sacrifice the part of community, but dam project force sacrifice the whole community. The community will be disappear at all under the reservoir. Not only physical property and land, but also memory of submerged people, community disappear. MLIT know the understand through the opposition movement Matsubara Shimoke Dam, MLIT judge to estimate new law for the submerged persons. The law on measure for the community of the water resources area to be rebuilding. All administration have to cooperate for rebuilding the submerged community. Minister of Health and Welfare, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Agriculture and Forest, Ministry of Economic and Industry. Then I advise to young engineer in the world, when you tackle the water infrastructure, you have to understand the mind and history of the related community. Don't carry out the water infrastructure project in power. Please respect the history and culture, the water resources area. Right?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think so. The dialogue is very important, I think. So now, are there any other questions you received in Q&A box, Asai-san?
Yes, we have received some questions. Dr. Takamura mentioned in his presentation the river basin. He mentioned river basin. How large does the river basin cover? Because for flood management, it may need to include a wide range of region. So he asked the size of the river basin, each river basin.
Yes, there are so many river basins in Japan, the big river basin and small river basin. Then the people's living adapt the size of river basin in each river. The large river, the Tone River, has Tokyo located in Tone River. The Tone River, Tokyo is big scale. And another area, so small river basin, the scale of human beings is small. I think the human adapt the topography and climate. It's a very the point, the adapt to the river basin and climate is a very important issue. But another country, nation, Indonesia and Malaysia, so large river basin. But I'm sorry, I don't know the big large basin. The Japan is so small, and we will be small gathered living scale. We come back to Edo era, I think. Of course, about 10 years later, not near. Okay.
You and also we have received a question regarding the wastewater treatment. managing the wastewater through the development of the centralized and wastewater treatment system is a key success of Japan to restore the river water quality. But these systems are cost intensive, which are not able to bear by many developing countries. What sort of the system and the mechanism would better suit to improve water environment in developing countries?
Okay. I suggest I don't have a general answer to the whole country. The wastewater treatment measure adapt to the topography and climate in each river basin. Not modernized advanced technology is not so good. The traditional technology is necessary from now, because I think the advanced technology needs so huge energy. Of course, the treatment speed is very high, but in future, the energy is limited. The water treatment return to the slow measure and adapt the topography and climate in each river basin. But the huge urban city is a need the advanced big plant for wastewater treatment and for need so huge energy. Then the decentralized is necessary in future. Of course, not 10 years, 20 years, about 100 years later. I'm a civil engineer. The time line is very long. My concept of time is very long. It's okay.
Thank you, Hikama-san. Also, the next question is about the River Basin Council. Who should set up a River Basin Council? Government, NGO, or environmental group? Do you have any ideas?
I think the River Basin Council estimated by local government a start of the period. But the local government support the birth of River Basin Council. And good educated and good leader support the growing the River Basin Council. In future, about 20 years ago, 20 later, or 30 years later, the council, River Basin Council, is dependent, not dependent on government. They will be independent. It's a idea, my dream, and discuss about so many stakeholders, take a communication and take a conversation and understand each other, and they cooperate together, keep the watershed, water quality, keep the spring water, keep the infrastructure, and so on. Of course, ecosystem.
Thank you. And also some comments about the ancient laws, water control and management by years, and also the Takeda Shingen is very interesting. What kinds of reference would you recommend? Is there any good books or materials which we should refer to study more about the historical water management?
It's my hobby. Only my hobby. I explain about from today. I explain the history of Japan, and it's my idea. And I study photograph and woodblock print. Woodblock print is a picture in Edo era. It's very nice for me to understand, to learn the ancient time. 1 and 200 years ago and 300 years ago, I learned by woodblock print. Every nation have old materials, old craft. Please look the old print, old craft, and old story from old men, old women. Please read, please learn, listen, and the history. History is show the answer to us in future society, sustainable society.
Thank you, Takemura-san. We might have a chance to hold another seminar to study, learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We wish we could continue more, but unfortunately, it's time to finish. So, but it was very interesting and very good conversation, Q&A session. Thank you very much. Before we finish, sorry, before that, thank you very much, Dr. Takemura. Before we finish, we would like to announce the next JWF webinar. The next JWF webinar will be held on June 24th, 7 to 8 UTC, 4 to 5 Japan local time. The topic is a long-time investment in water-related disaster risk reduction. And speaker is Mr. Inoue Tomo, Director General, Water and Disaster Management Bureau, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism. So it's time to finish. Thank you very much for the participation. The recording will be viewed on our website later. Thank you for all participants. We look forward to welcoming you to the next JWF webinar. Last but least, it would be grateful if you contribute to answer the questionnaire, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.